Okay, because it's 7 o'clock, we have to give the building back to the fire department. I'm Dave Donelson. I'm your representative from District 1. 2:30 today, I had a dental appointment and they did a crown on a tooth back here. So if I start drooling or anything like that, that's why. And if I bite my tongue and there's blood coming out of my mouth. So, first I want to say it's a privilege to represent District 1 and just serve on City Council. I'll say just a few words about City Council, and then what we'll do is we'll turn it over to Corey Farkas, and Corey will introduce himself, give you his title and all that, but he's going to answer questions about roads. There's a few things that citizens send a lot of emails about. Roads might be number one, really, and public safety is another big one on our parks. And there's only a few things citizens really contact us about. Roads is our big one. So that's Corey, the large gentleman in the purple shirt. Corey will maybe tell you a little about his background. He was an Olympic athlete. He was a wrestler. So watch out what you say to Corey. You might find yourself going out the window. And the gentleman in the striped shirt there that was standing next to Corey, kind of a salmon colored shirt. That's Tim Lee. He's a former city councilman. Good to see you tonight, Tim. And next to him is Travis Easton, who used to be in charge of Public Works up until the new mayor, then promoted Travis up to Deputy Chief of Staff. I don't know which he liked better. But, and I'll tell you, Travis and Corey, since I've been on City Council, they're very responsive. They really care about citizens. Both of them have come out with me to citizens' homes. Maybe I shouldn't be saying this because we'll get 80 requests. And looked at the roads in front of their houses, looked at other things, and it's really, they say the biggest small town, that's what they say, the biggest small town in America, and you see some of that with people we have working for the city. So now, could you come up here, Sam? I'm going to introduce you to two folks who work in our office. City Council office is called Legislative Services. For 9 council members, we get 7 staff to do everything. So not even one per, right? And this is Sam Friedman. Those of you, yes. You should applaud Sam, because those of you who have maybe been involved in a, what's it called, planning issue or property use issue, and you start emailing, say if you email me and I can't talk about it, because maybe we'll touch on this in my part of tonight, quasi-judicial stuff. A lot of times I hand you off to Sam. Sam always gets rave reviews on helping citizens out on how do you work the system, or what's next for citizens to get their point of view across. Next to Sam is Alex Wrighton. Alex is our communications guy. Alex used to be with one of the local TV channels. I don't remember which one was it, Alex? 5. So Channel 5, he used to be over at Channel 5, and then we stole him away from Channel 5. And he sets up events like this and does all the communication stuff, releases press releases, sets me up to get in trouble with interviewers on TV. There's a few other folks in the room. I see Chuck Borman right there. Chuck, as many of you know, was your clerk and recorder for how many years? 8 years, Chuck?
8 years. Now
8 years. Yep. Now treasurer. So there's a gentleman in the back in the black shirt there, George Reed. And George, what is your official title with Police Protective Association?
I'm the chairman of the Police Foundation.
Police Foundation. It's George, a huge supporter of our CSPD. And there are others. I'll have to just stop there, but there's a lot of really good people in this room, involved people. So, where'd my helpers go? Hey, Alex or Sam, can one of you just come up here for a second? Just hold this thing. I just think this is useful to start the night off, and then I am going to hand it off to Corey, but this is the city of Colorado Springs, essentially. This is the Air Force Academy, right here. This is Fort Carson down here. This is the airport. Where's the airport? Find the airport for me.
Facing the red.
Yeah. This is Powers right there. So it gives you an idea. This is, I don't have my glasses on, so Union and this is Austin Bluffs. Yeah, thank you. Okay, very good. So this is us in District 1. I represent District 1, right? There's 6 council members from the districts. Then there are 3 at-large. It's important to remember that for votes. District 2 up here is Randy Helms, right? It's pretty much to the east of the Air Force Academy and goes out east. District 3 down here is the Broadmoor and all that stuff down there. That is Michelle Tallarico. She represents that. She's new, right? She just got elected. Randy got elected when I did a couple of years ago. District 4, the southeast part, is represented by Yolanda Avila. We'd say she's a senior person on council right now. She's been there for 6 years, and 2 more years, her time's up. On council, you get elected for 4 years. You can run for re-election once. So that's Yolanda. The center of town, a lot of the downtown. This is Palmer Park right here, the park. I live right above it. I live right there. But this salmon-y colored part is Nancy Henjum represents that. And then this area out here to the east, Mike O'Malley. He's the representative of that. And then we've got our 3 at-larges, right? One of them is, they're all new. David Lineweber is one. Who are the others? Ryan Risley is another one. Oh yeah, Lynette Crow Iverson. Those are the 3. Brand new. They all just got elected along with Michelle Tallarico. She ran because Stephanie Fortune stepped down. And I think you know Stephanie Fortune sadly has passed away from cancer. So that's the status on City Council. Any questions just about this map? I do see a question about the map.
Not really about the map, but what does at-large mean?
Okay, that's a great question. What the heck does at-large mean? So I'm elected. Only people who can vote for me live in this blue part. At-large means when they run, if you run for an at-large seat, you're campaigning for the whole city. So everybody in the city can vote for them. Does that explain it? Down here, the only people that can vote, like when you get your ballot, the only ones who would have Michelle Tallarico and her opponents on it would be people who live in 3. Okay? And it's staggered. Like a few months ago, the at-larges were up for election. 2 years after that, the district reps, all 6 of us, will be up for election. So in just a little less than 2 years in April. 2 years after that, it's been 4 years since those at-larges got elected, and they're up again. Does that make sense? Why does it matter? Because you can have big swings in city council. All of a sudden, like we got 4 new people on city council. So some of the votes, for example, if you were to count no votes on 24-24, like 3 of the no votes left. Richard Scorman, he's gone. Our president, Tom Strand, he's gone. Who was the other one? So, I know that's an important issue for the group in this room. So you got to look at the new ones and do some math, depending on what you want, and so that's why it's important. All right, cool. Thanks a lot. Sure. So now, what we're going to do is I'm going to hand this off to Corey for, I know there's lots of road questions. He's going to take it until at the very latest, really half an hour from now, maybe 35 minutes. And then Corey will be done. Travis may answer some questions too if there's something beyond what Corey's, his field of expertise. And then I will take questions after that. Any questions just about that schedule? Okay, let's do it.
All right. Hello, my name is Corey Farkas. I am the Public Works Operations and Maintenance Division Manager. It's a bit of a mouthful. Used to just be the streets manager, but we take care of far more than streets. So under O&M's umbrella, we obviously have our operations crew. Those are the folks, the city employees who work hard every single day. They're out there filling potholes, doing crack repair, dig out repair. They plow snow in the wintertime, all of our core functions within the division. And then we've got our asset management group. They're the ones that go out there and actually build these maps. We have a third party that runs all of our streets every 3 years to give us our OCI values, overall condition index values on our roadways. It's the grade that we utilize. We'll talk about that in just a minute. To be able to choose the roads that need to be paved. We also, under that asset management group, have our locates team that go out and locate any of our city assets that need to be located out there. We have our contracted programs team. We'll talk about a lot of what they do today. They run all of our big contracted programs through PPRTA and 2C, our large paving program. And then, let's see, under the ops, we also do all of the stormwater maintenance within the city. So we maintain all of our drainage infrastructure, both closed and open system, ponds, you name it, as well as signs and markings out there. So all in all, my division has, including seasonal employees, we are over 250 strong within the division. So it's there's a lot out there. What you were just looking at on that map, just to put it in perspective, we have over 200 square miles of infrastructure within Colorado Springs, well over 6,300 lane miles of roadway within the city. That equates to about 2,700 centerline miles of roadway. We are the largest municipal infrastructure in the state of Colorado, larger than Denver. The only infrastructure in the state that is larger than Colorado Springs is CDOT. So we have, I'm sorry?
What is that? What's CDOT?
Colorado Department of Transportation, so they take care of all the highways.
Oh, thank you.
Yes,
CDOT.
CDOT,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
CDOT's the only, the state is the only organization that has larger infrastructure than we do right here in Colorado Springs. So we have a lot. We try to put it in perspective for a lot of people. That's why we try to come up with fun little facts. You know, if you put all of our lane miles back to back to back, you'd go from our airport to Athens, Greece. It's, you know, just, again, trying to put some things in perspective. We do get a lot of phone calls for potholes. Our pothole trucks, we've got a total of 12. At any one time, we probably have 6 to 8 on the roadway. We've kept some of our older trucks so that as those trucks go down, we have trucks that can go back out on the roadway and start filling potholes. But we get a lot of calls saying, hey, I've never seen a pothole truck on the roadway. I'm like, well, if you had a road that spanned from Colorado Springs all the way to Greece, and you sprinkled 8 trucks on that road, there's a good chance you might not see them out on the roadway. But I can assure you we've got a passionate group of people that are out there working hard every day to try to maintain our infrastructure. So normally I would have either some boards or maps, you know, projector going, and have something prepared, but I understood that this was going to be a Q&A session for an opportunity for you all to be able to ask me questions so that I can answer them. So if you want to start that typically takes 30 minutes. Damn.
Woodman Valley Road. I think it's important that wildfire evacuation,
Yes.
if you could make it where 2 lanes could egress, is that the, you know, from Orchard Valley Road to Woodman Valley Chapel. Seems like there is space. You know, someone helped get blacktop. I believe our city councilman and a constituent got some blacktop there. Is that in the works?
So I can tell you that Woodman Valley Road is on 2C to be paved here in the near future. As far as any kind of widening, any kind of road diet, any of that kind of thing on a roadway falls on traffic engineering and city engineering. So we are the maintenance outfit. We maintain what we have already out there in the infrastructure. So as far as I know at this point in time for my programs, we are going to be going out there to pave that road. There may be some minor improvements along the way, and as far as paint, once it goes back down on the road, after I mill and pave a road, I have to paint it anyway, whether it's the skip line or the edge line. If they deem that road's wide enough to be able to put a bike lane on, I can put bike lane on it. We have to paint the road anyway, so we go back out there and whatever traffic engineering turns into us as their new striping plan, that's what we put out there. So
And who's that contact person?
for traffic engineering would be Todd Frisbee.
Okay, thank you.
And Corey,
that again?
Todd Frisbee?
and you could send an email to me, and I will be a traffic cop and send it on to the right person, but I'll stay in the loop. Corey, could you explain a little bit about 2C? You brought that up. That's what's going to pay for that road, for Woodman.
So 2C is the ballot initiative that we put forward to the voters in November of 2015. At that point in time, it was a 0.62 sales tax that was dedicated to roadway infrastructure to include curb gutter, sidewalk, and pedestrian ramps. And so that was had a 5-year sunset. So from 2016 to 2020, we had the original 2C. In 2019, we went back out to the voters for another 5-year sunset on 2C, what we call 2C2. We're currently halfway through 2C2 at the moment, which is the second 5-year program. We dropped it in 2019 from a 0.62 to a 0.57 sales tax, and all of those revenues are again dedicated to our roadway infrastructure out there on the roadway. So total by the end of our 10-year program, we will have paved approximately between 1,800 and 1,900 lane miles of roadway. Again, putting that in perspective, we have over 6,300 lane miles, so we still have a lot of work to do in front of us after 2C is completed. Is there a question in the back?
Yeah, question. Since it's taken now approximately 30 years to do one cycle of roads for maintenance, and if 2C dries up, what are you going to do for the next 20 years?
That's a great question. A lot of people ask the question, prior to 2015, how did we get here? How did our roads get to the point where we need 2C to be able to maintain them? And you know, there's a perfect storm. You can say there was a lot of growth. We had a couple of downturn in the market. Back in the early to mid 90s, we actually had a half-cent sales tax. This predates me. I took over the division in 2013. But back in the early to mid 90s, we had a half-cent sales tax that was dedicated to roadway maintenance that was removed. And so we lost that funding. And so after all of those things, that perfect storm came together. It did not take long and does not take long for our roadway infrastructure to deteriorate to the point that it did in 2015. So it's a great question. If 2C were to dry up, we would be right back to where we were pre-2016, which would be our PPRTA and general fund would be our only funding sources to maintain our infrastructure that has grown since that time.
So it will come back. 2C will be a ballot initiative to extend it again for that reason, because there's certain things that citizens want for government to do for them, and I think roads is at the top of the list. So you'll have an opportunity, I believe, to vote on that in a year or two to extend it.
That is correct. And so really quick, I'll get to your question in just 1 second, sir. So when you take a look at 2C, people say, well, okay, it's a dedicated funding source for roadway infrastructure. How do you choose the roads that need to be on the list? And so we have a database of record. Cartograph is our database of record. We've got a third party that goes out, and we call it the Ghostbuster car because it's got sensors in the wheels, it's got ground penetrating radar, it's got cameras all over it, LiDAR, you name it. It drives our streets and is able to gather all of this data that gives us a grade, an OCI value, overall condition index value, from 0 to 100. 0 being a gravel road, 100 being a brand new road. And so as that information is gathered and put into our database of record, we have degradation curves that are built in So if you build a brand new road and you do nothing to it, no maintenance whatsoever, industry says that road will typically last about 13 years. And it'll start falling off, right, on its degradation curve. Through preventative maintenance, as it's starting to go on that curve, as it starts to get cracking, we do live in Colorado Springs, Colorado, it's dry, we have a lot of sun, traffic. As it starts to degrade, we crack seal it, it pops that OCI value up a little bit, right? It's preventative maintenance. It starts to degrade a little more, we crack seal it again, degrades, we chip seal it. And now all of a sudden, instead of 13 years, we're out 25 years, hopefully, if all goes well. And so we try to extend the life of that roadway. So the roads that we pick for 2C, we utilize all of this data that we have to choose all of those roadways. We also went through on the first 2C and said, well, we have a 5-year period of time here that we've got for the sunset. Let's try to get the biggest bang for the buck. That's why we went ahead and identified arterial roadways for 2C. So the Garden of the Gods, Woodman, most sections of Union, those types of roadways, the arterials that everybody in the city utilizes were identified within a certain range from 30 to 70 on the OCI value. Those were the ones that were targeted for 2C. Fast forward to 2C2, we did a lot of the arterials in 2C. We wanted to start getting into residential roadways. Of all of those lane miles of residential roadways, 85% of them are residential. So we have a lot of residential roadways. We wanted to start in 2C2 to address those roadways because we get a lot of calls saying, hey, Garden of the Gods looks great, but what about my street? And so we wanted to start getting into the neighborhoods. And we did. Over 50% of 2C2 is in residential roadways. Now, those typically are going to be the collector roadways in the residential, the larger residential roadways. We are getting some of the smaller streets, but typically the collectors within the residentials were targeted within that OCI value range for 2C2. Now, as we move forward into 2C3, 98%, as we're planning it, we're currently planning it now, 98% of that program is going to be in residential roads, and they are going to start hitting the smaller residential roads as we move through. So I got a lot of questions here. Sorry, I'm going to stop rambling.
A comment and a question. Gold Coast Springs app is fabulous. So whoever created that, kudos to them. I've reported many potholes around here, and they've been very responsive. So for that, I thank your department. The question I have is on Woodman Road. When will it be done? You said it's on 2C.
Yes.
Do you have a target date?
I would have to go back, but if I remember correctly, I believe it's next year.
Okay, and then will they do anything on that, where they're dumping, it seems like good money after bad, it's being thrown on that roadway on the right side or the south side of Woodman Road?
A little bit of asphalt was
Yeah,
thrown
the
down
asphalt.
because it was a big drop off.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, as we go through and pave, we will address shoulders as we go through there. We will address shoulders when possible with the mill and overlay. We will address. A lot of times you'll see bellies in the road that'll cause localized flooding, things of that nature. We will go through and profile the road properly as we mill and overlay it to try to fix those issues. But we do address shoulders as well on roadways like Woodman when we go out.
Thank you.
So you've had your hand up for a long time. Your shoulder's got to be killing.
Yeah, thank you. The people who do the actual work, repair work, are they city employees or are they contracted?
So for all of my contracted programs, for PPRTA and for 2C, they are all contracted. It's a dedicated funding source. In the ballot language, we do not grow government with those funds, and they are contracted.
So you pay a company a flat rate, and no matter if they have employees standing around, it's on them for that?
So-
Because I see a lot of road workers just doing nothing.
Right, so we get line item pricing. What we do with our, and I'll take concrete for example, as we go through, we've got all of the line items that we would have. There's type 1 curb and gutter, type 2 curb and gutter, there's different types of curb and gutter. 4-inch sidewalk, 6-inch sidewalk, 6-inch reinforced for drive aprons, all of these line items, and all of our contractors bid that work per line item. So what we are trying to do is, and we bid out our paving in bundles. Rather than having in 2C1, we just had a north and a south contract. These paving companies bid it, won it, and they got extended contracts. Rather than that in 2C, we went to a bundle system, which creates a lot of competition. And so we've been able to regulate our asphalt costs with that bundle system and so they bid the line items and
Yes. How do you get reports on what I would call a sub-arterial? So you've got big trucks cutting through, let's say, for example, from Union, they're trying to get to Austin Bluffs. So instead of going to the junction, I can right at the corner of Dave's district. But how do you keep them from cutting through residential neighborhoods and tearing up those roads?
I would love to be able to keep them from running through residential neighborhoods and tearing up roads. Those roads aren't necessarily designed for that heavy truck traffic, but really that's a PD issue, right? So we get a lot of folks call in, they're referred over to PD, and if PD has the resources, they can come out and try to.
PD, police
Police
department?
department,
Yeah.
So,
I have two questions. I've lived in my house now for 32 years, and the street was new. I mean, it was a new street. And in 2019, we began to have a lot of potholes. So I got in contact with the city, and my street was never repaved or had anything done to it. But the street on both sides and various streets around, all that, they do it. I thought, oh, mine's going to be next, It was never next. So when I contacted, I said, I think maybe they missed. And I was told, I said, could you check and see, what your records are? And I was told that you didn't have records for more than back for 10 years.
so we have on our current system, trying to remember how far we go back on that. Our current system, so we started what was a PQI at the time, pavement quality index. We've now gone to OCI, which is overall condition index. There's additional factors that are factored into that. Back in 2009, I believe, is when the city had its first PQI. That was a homegrown system. I see Cece back in the back, she was there at the time. But it was a homegrown system where we actually used to have inspectors go walk every street in the city, walk or drive, and they would grade all of the roadways. It took us 4 years to get a full look at what the city's PQI value was, because we could only do about a quarter with manpower. We could only do about a quarter of the city a year. They were doing this, in their spare time. And so by the time year 4 comes, what you looked at in year 1 had degraded to a point where that information was irrelevant at that point. Which is why in 2017, we started going to this new method where we hire this third-party company. And so when we start talking about records and anything that predates really that kind of 2010-ish time period, we've got very little. We go into the back room and we start thumbing through boxes to try to find something that was in a box back then.
Well,
So
I still think that 32 years is a long time.
It very much is, and we do have downtown, we do have, they'll have records on the plats and all of that information that actually is getting transitioned from microfiche over to electronic.
Well, my other question was, so I gave up on trying to find out if when you said my street was paved. And so I recorded on the app for potholes, and I had to put my address in, but I put down that, it was like the first 8 houses on the street that had big potholes, and I sent pictures, and they only came out and fixed the pothole in front of my house. So I did the app thing again, and they fixed another pothole. And it's one at a time. And what I'm wondering is when you send somebody out, especially like I put in, from this address to this address. Because the street, it goes up and it curves, so the potholes go where the curve maybe is.
Sure.
And what people were doing is they were going like this and on the wrong side of the street, you know, to avoid the potholes. So I decided, well, I'm gonna report all these potholes. And it took one at a time.
And a lot of times it does. So potholes, when I came on board, they used to have this, they called it the list. And they used to chase the list, and it was a unicorn, it was a mythical creature that they were trying to reach the end of. And we changed the way we prioritized our potholes, because as people would call in, and we had this list, you know, a mile long, it probably rivaled Santa Claus's list, that we would start at the top and start working through as people called in. Problem with that method is, somewhere buried down here, somebody called in a pothole the size of this table, and we're filling potholes at the top that are the size of a softball. And so we wanted to, that's why the Go COS app is so good, and we have people answering the phone if you call during business hours and they're not already on the line. We try to take as much information as possible so that we can prioritize the more dangerous potholes to the top of the list, and then they can work through that list, knowing that the ones at the top are going to be the most dangerous.
But I guess what I wonder, I mean, like, here's a pothole, and there's a pothole.
Sure.
I mean, you could see, then why would they fill this one and
Sure.
not that one?
And, you know, and that's a call that these guys in the field are making. It's, you know, it's not a perfect science by any means. And, you know, we have discussions with them all the time. If you're already there, if you can fill the
Yeah,
pothole.
I mean, it's frustrating.
It is. And, you know, right now is the season we should be doing pothole repairs. Unfortunately, with the rain that we've had, the pothole numbers are so high, we're really doing a fill operation, which is a winter operation on our potholes right now. A pothole repair, we're gonna come out, we're gonna try to square up that hole, fix any subgrade that might be compromised, go ahead and tack the sides, and we're gonna put hot mix asphalt in there and properly repair that pothole. The pothole numbers right now are such that if we're doing that, we're only getting half the numbers, getting to half the potholes that we could be. So, you know, our crews are out there trying to do their best to catch up from what Mother Nature gave us this spring. But that's something that we talk about with the crews all the time. You know, should they? It makes sense to, but I don't know what was on their list, if they had something, if they were called off, I'm not sure. So, but we will definitely have more discussion on that. But if you call me or send me an email, I will take a look at your street, and I'll let you know if we've got a plan for paving coming up. Any information
It
you
seems
need.
like 32 years is a long time.
There's a lot of roads in this city that are 32 years old that haven't had, you know, that kind of maintenance on them, unfortunately, you know. So,
Just curious, every once in a while we'll read about mixing into the asphalt, the chewed up tires.
oh yeah, I just answered an email about that today.
And I was just wondering if you've seen the life expectancy extended
No,
on that, not at all.
no, not at all. It's really expensive, first of all. So there's
When
no,
they did Union.
yeah, there's no
everybody said,
refineries.
wow, it's so quiet, it's wonderful.
And that doesn't last long, right? As soon as the fines start coming off the top and aggregate starts getting exposed, the sound dampening goes away completely, right? So then, terminal blended tire rubber asphalt. It was something that was, you know, green and popular, and we tried it. We're seeing that it doesn't last any longer than your typical asphalt that we're putting down, a 64-28 mix that we're putting down on roadways right now, and it was really expensive. There's no refineries in the area that make that oil, so we had to bring that oil up out of, I think it was either New Mexico or Oklahoma. So then you've got a heated truck taking oil up here. The company that was going to be doing the paving would then have to stop operations, clear their silo out, clean it, put this new oil in, batch asphalt just for us. We had to go out there and pave. Then they had to shut down for another day, clean their silos, and start batching regular asphalt for all of their other clients. And so you take all of that into account, and that cost just goes through the roof, because they're not going to take a loss, right? For just the city wanting to do some special tire rubber asphalt blend. And so it was really expensive, and now we're seeing that it looked like it was going to be doing well on its life cycle curve, but instead of kind of coming out and falling down like a normal asphalt, it went just a little bit farther, but then it goes straight down. We just had to put a skim coat with our in-house crews on Union between Academy and Austin Bluffs, because that road, that was a test section through there, through the S-curves, it was deteriorating at such a rate with the rain that we had this spring that we had to do something. It's on 2C to be paved, but not until 2025. And so it wasn't gonna make it another 2 years, right? So we had to go out and do something like that. So it's just not worth the coordination, the headache, the cost. If we were using that, we'd be paving less than half of what we'd be able to pave with a normal asphalt. So, yes, sir.
Is there a 2C list?
We do have a 2C list. It's online.
Public? Oh.
Yep, absolutely. It's online. So if you go to the city's website, go to Public Works, Operations and Maintenance, there is a 2C page there that's got all of the lists.
So we can look up our road by address?
Yep.
Okay. This paving, is there a traffic flow component to it too? Because there are roads that aren't as bad as some of the other ones that are getting paved. But is it because there's more traffic on the road?
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. So traffic counts is another factor that went into, back, we used to.
Some of these are residential, and I'm just curious because they weren't that bad.
So if you take a look at what all of the factors we've talked about already, probably the biggest one, and my folks have become, I think, full-time, if not 3/4 time coordinators at this point because of all the stakeholders that are involved. 2C is such a big program. We have a lot of stakeholders that we have to coordinate with. City engineering, traffic engineering. Our largest one is Colorado Springs Utilities, right? So when we planned 2C2, we got with Colorado Springs Utilities because we really want to look at these roads holistically. And we would hate to pave a road and then, a week later have a water main break and our new road that we just paved is now blown up, right? And not to say it doesn't happen because it does. It makes me sick every time I see that on the news in the morning when I'm coming in and there's water bubbling out of a road. But we try our best to coordinate and mitigate those issues as much as possible. So we took Colorado Springs Utilities and what their greatest maintenance needs were and our greatest maintenance needs. And if we had two roads that were within all of the criteria of 2C that we wanted to pave, both of them, and Colorado Springs Utilities said, well, we have to do this one as well. Well, that's the road that we were going to pave because they had needs under it as well. So, yes, ma'am.
I have a question. Our HOA is kind of small, but we do have public roads. And our 80 homes in our neighborhood have said, can't we just fix it and build a city? Can't we hire a contractor? Because we never seem to be on the list. I don't know what the criteria is, so.
Sure.
I can say that in advance, I don't know the criteria. Everybody in our neighborhood has called in and been given the tag on the door that you're a priority. But then when you try and find out, these are sidewalks.
Oh, are you talking for sidewalks?
Sidewalks, gutters, and then also the roads, when they come in and do a small repair. I would have to agree with the previous person that they don't fix the entire area that was
really good.
reported.
Give me an email or a call.
Okay.
And I have cards for anybody that needs that.
I was gonna ask, since you mentioned sidewalks, are sidewalks part, residential areas, part of what you do, or is it just the streets?
I have it all.
Curbs and.
Curbs, gutters, all of it. So we
I
have a
can
lot of.
send you an interesting picture that's been there for years.
I'll bet it wouldn't shock me.
So can we fix our own sidewalks?
So the answer to that is yes, right? And so when it comes to concrete, we have several different programs. 2C goes through and fixes concrete. Number one, there's a federal mandate that anytime you pave a road, it's considered a roadway alteration. The federal government does not consider mill and overlay maintenance. It's a roadway alteration. Anytime you alter a roadway, you must update all of the pedestrian ramps within that roadway. Whether it's it's newer concrete that's only 5 years old and looks great. If we put a 2-foot level on it and it's out of specification, we are required by law to change that, pull that out and put it in spec, right? And so we have to do all the ped ramps. Curb and gutter, we want to protect the asset that we're putting in. So if we have really cracked curb and gutter in a neighborhood, let's say, that's carrying water during all the storms, a lot of our neighborhoods, especially our older neighborhoods, don't have a lot of stormwater infrastructure underneath its surface conveyance. And so the curbs are designed to take water. If they're broken, that water infiltrates into underneath that curb and gutter and underneath that brand new roadway that we put in, and it will prematurely fail. So we want to take any of the curb and gutter that's going to impact that roadway. And then when we talk about sidewalk, typically in these older neighborhoods, a lot of them, if we've got attached sidewalk, well, when we pull that curb and gutter, we have to pull the sidewalk because they're typically going to be either monolithically poured or potentially when you pull that curb and gutter, the sidewalk's going to move. So, but we do have PPRTA as well. So we go through and we do concrete with PPRTA. We have 2,700 centerline miles within the city. And when you take a look at all of the concrete, our concrete assets within the city that we are sitting on is about 3.3 billion in concrete. And there's a lot of it, and there's a lot to maintain. We have quite the list of people that have called in. We go out, whenever you call in, we'll send an inspector out to inspect, and we give it a priority rating. We have low, medium, high, and then important. Important is going to have an ADA implication, right? And so those are the top of our list. Right now we have 1,300 importance to get to within the city, and I can get to about 100 a year with my PPRT funding. So there's a list, right? That's why we give the option. If you wanted to do your concrete yourself and you got a licensed contractor through this that has licensed and bonded through the city, they can pull permits and do your concrete, or give us a call and we've got a 50-50 program where the city will pay 50%. We'll have one of our contractors with our pricing doing that concrete, and our inspectors inspecting that concrete when it's out there. And that was something that we started because of the backlog that we have. We wanted to be able to offer that. Again, 1,300, about 100 a year. You might call and you're 13 years down the line. But if you call and do the 50-50 program, we can get to you within about a year. So, all kinds of questions now. What in the back?
Yeah, 2 questions real quickly. And I'm not in this district, so thank you, Councilmember Donelson, for doing this. My representative would never. Is it an open bid process for the asphalt?
It is an open bid. So we pre-qualify all of our contractors. So we have an RFP process that goes out. They submit their submittals, their proposals. We have a group, and there's some of our folks, some of our inspectors, some folks from procurement, some folks from around the city that get together and they grade all of the proposals, and they will pre-qualify all of our contractors. Those contractors then have the opportunity to bid on the bundles as they come out. So next year, if I've got 4 or 5 bundles of paving to do in different neighborhoods, I think we have 4 or 5 pre-qualified
So it's an annual
paving
bid,
contractors.
is that what you're saying? Annual?
So with the city, when they get pre-qualified, it's a 1-year contract, and then they have 4 option years. We reserve the right at any point in time to go back out to RFP if we want to get more contractors on board and in the bidding process.
Got it. And second question, this is outside of your scope, but I wanted everyone here to hear it, and maybe you have an opinion on it. Mill Valley, and I'm the founder of Westside Watch for people in this room. Mill Valley, California has just secured in the last year a road scoring software program that actually scores all of the roads on evacuation. And I'm sure we could piggyback on that and pay some type of small license fee to implement the two. I know this is gonna be probably more of a Donelson question, but is that something that your group would have input into helping us get through, or?
No,
No,
that's
yeah, okay.
not our wheelhouse.
All
If it has to do with, maintaining the infrastructure, then certainly.
Got it.
So, yes, ma'am.
And these would be these would be the last two questions for Corey, okay? I saw a lady up here and then the lady in the back and then,
I have cards here, so if you wanna, I'm here all week.
You mentioned the roads are like from here to Athens and you have 8 trucks, is on staff. So it sounds to me, in like 13 years to get through this, sounds to me like you need double the number of trucks and personnel and to get things done. I mean, even if it got done in half the time, that's still not very pretty.
Yeah,
What's the chance of that?
Well, when you look at a city of our size, there's a lot of need in public safety, right? There's a lot of need in parks. There's a lot of need everywhere. So, yeah, absolutely. If I could, wave my magic wand and Travis could give me, 30 sweepers, 15 more pothole trucks, that would be great. But again, when you take a look at these, pothole trucks, you're looking at about $250,000 per truck. It's not a Honda. They're expensive, and these large pieces of equipment are out working long hours, they break. And so there's maintenance, massive maintenance costs to those as well. So, you just got to kind of try to balance it. And right now, with the city of our size, doing the best we can with what we have, what we've done is identify different levels of service. If I were to have all of these trucks, I could do this much, but that's really not a reality. So we have this many, and so here's the level of service that we can provide.
So, do I understand correctly that you come in after CSU might do some work under a street? And then you interface with them, when they're done, you come in and you do the repairs? It's not some contractor under CSU that fixes their stuff?
Correct. So, in our coordination, they'll come through, and if they've got water, wastewater, gas, electric, and now fiber going in, they'll go ahead and either maintain or install whatever it is they're putting in. They'll have their own contractor come in and do a temporary patch over top of that, and if it's a 2C road, after that, we will come through with the pre-overlay concrete, and we also do pre-overlay pipe, so we camera and inspect all of our stormwater pipes that are underneath these roadways. And so if we need pipelining or something like that, we'll do that along with the concrete. And then once all of that's done, then we come in with a mill and overlay. The tough part there is we mill and overlay, now that we're especially getting into some of these residential collector roads, in front of schools a lot, and the parents get really mad when they can't just drop their kid off at school and get out of there easily. And they say, why would you schedule this after school has started? Why didn't you get it during the summer? Well, Colorado Springs Utilities and then Concrete were there in the summer months. They're the lucky ones to get their work done early, and then unfortunately in front of those schools our mill and overlay comes through. Luckily it's a much faster program than Concrete, so we get it milled, we get it paved.
What happens if CSU tears up somebody's driveway? Then is it one of their contractors who does the repair
Correct.
work and not you?
Yeah, correct. We are just within the right
Even
of way.
if the tearing up starts in the road, but then it continues in the
That's
driveway, you'll
Commerce.
stop at the road,
No.
and they'll come in and they'll do the driveway.
Right. Well, if they're going into the road and it's their project, they will do the restoration to that as well.
Oh, and they'll do the restoration into the road?
Yes.
yeah, I think I see what you're asking. If Public Works had no plan to come and work on that road, CSU covers it, right? CSU.
Okay.
This is only if our Public Works Department they're expecting to come in anyway, then we coordinate, so we're not doing it in the wrong sequence.
Okay, so it's a private contractor through CSU that's doing the restoration at that point?
That is correct.
Yep.
Corey. Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Yeah, it's two
Okay.
separate questions.
Thank you.
Okay, and I think that's gonna have to be.
Perfect. I appreciate
Thank you,
everybody
sir.
not throwing tomatoes at me.
So, our former Public Works Director and currently our Deputy Chief of Staff, one of them, would like to come up and say a few words, I think.
Yeah, just to the point of the questions that some of you had about where's my road, when is it on the list? We, in the effort of transparency and accountability, we have an online GIS-based map, public facing on our website, and with that we list all of the roads, actually all the projects in Public Works by year. And so you can get on there, you can click on your road, you can click on any project in the city, and it will show you the budget and the schedule. And then when we're done with it, we'll show you, did we really meet that budget? And were we within that schedule? And you can judge us accordingly. So that is online. It's pretty easy to navigate to, I think.
Yeah, if you go online and you go up to the drop-down menu, you'll see a button for map galleries. If you click on map galleries, every map that we have, whether it's mine or not, is in that map gallery. So you can see snow routes, you can see our Public Works projects map that not only has my stuff, but it also has engineering and stormwater and traffic engineering. It's all of Public Works.
All of the large capital projects in addition to the maintenance programs that Corey's running. So those are all on there for anybody to see. Again, that's public facing. So
And like Travis said, it's interactive. So just go to the street that's highlighted in a certain color and you'll see the key over there. You click on it and it'll give you a pop-up menu that'll have approximate dates that will be there, approximate cost, actual cost, all of that information should be there. And it gets updated quite often. So, all right.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much.
Again, round of applause for So you can see why I wanted to bring Corey to this meeting. A couple of thoughts. One is, if you, like the situation with the pothole where you called and one pothole got filled and then you gave a list again. That's a good time, no, that's a good time to contact your city council. Okay, so my cards are gonna be on that table on the way out, you can get a card. Sometimes there's just some confusion and we know each other. If I call up, we talk and maybe we can get something done more better than that. Okay?
They were fixed. I mean, they're starting to, well, this was what, 5 years ago. They're starting to open up again.
And so, and another thing about that I thought of as we talked about sidewalks, if it is a safety issue, like a sidewalk is heaved on the sidewalk, and especially if there's someone in a wheelchair, like in that house, again, Travis and Corey, they've done this before, where we've come out and we've fixed that problem. That's kind of comes off the list and it kind of gets elevated. It can't be everybody, right, in the city has to get theirs done first, but sometimes there truly are situations like that. And again, that is what your city council man or woman should be a part of helping out with, especially if you've tried the app, it didn't work, you've tried to reach them in person. Okay. Go ahead.
I don't know if there's anybody here who can address it, but it's the racing, swings on Centennial,
Yeah.
which is now.
Before we get to questions,
Okay.
I just want to say a couple things. Okay? So, I want to mention our city council meetings. They happen on the 2nd and 4th, Mondays and Tuesdays of each month. So the 2nd and 4th, Monday and Tuesday of each month. December, we actually don't have two. And it's Monday and Tuesday. Monday is a work session. There's no citizen comment. Tuesday is our regular session. They start at 10 a.m. And any citizen can speak at that regular session. We do some things first, so you might sit there for an hour as we do some recognitions and things like that. But you will get a chance, or maybe even more on some occasions, you can step up to the microphone and talk about that. And I think most citizens don't really know that. It is an opportunity. I've been there when we have solved the problem right there. Like, and some of it has been public works issues about like some problem with the road in front of their house. And we're on the phones texting Travis when he was a public works director, and things got fixed. So that's another avenue to address city council. Okay. Any question about that?
Where is it?
Okay, where is city council?
Where do you mean?
Oh, they're on the second floor in our building, which is at the intersection of Nevada, it's right downtown, and Kiowa. Okay, big building, it's on the, if you're heading
Big old
south,
building.
it's on the left-hand side. It's hard to miss it, and you can Google City Hall, it's not.
I have a question about the Tuesday meetings.
Yeah.
Forever and a day, the Tuesday meetings coincide at the same time with the county commissioners.
Yeah, they need to move their meeting.
Let's figure something out to where you guys work it out to where people can go to both meetings. Because this is,
Well, and honestly, I haven't really thought about that. I'm just trying to focus on my own thing. Hey, Sam, this sounds like a constituent Sam thing. So on the way out here, just please get your number to Sam, and we'll see. We'll contact them and see what we can do. Certainly not something your one councilman can do, but that's a reasonable point. It would
I
be
would agree
nice.
with that.
They're both recorded, so you can watch them. If you're not able to attend both, you can watch them online. And that, I guess we got just scheduling questions. Go ahead.
The open mic thing
Yeah.
at the Tuesday meeting,
Yes.
do you have to sign up ahead of time with Sam for that, or just show up?
Okay. And Sam wants to say a little something about that.
All right.
Do that. You got fans.
Yes, yeah. You are not required to sign up in advance. We take walk-ins, I'm at the door, and my coworker, Carly Hoff, usually is at the door. It's helpful to sign up in advance, just so we know. I can tell Council President Helms, hey, I've got 25 people today for citizens discussion, but it's not required.
Is there a time limit for how long you speak?
3 minutes.
You get 3 minutes
3
at the
minutes,
open.
unless somebody sees time to, yes, 3 minutes.
Oh, you can do the seating thing for that too?
Up to a point. Up to a point. And again, it's not fair if one person comes in with 30 other people and they all cede time to them, and now you're there for an hour and a half. So in 3 minutes, when you're on a microphone, 3 minutes can be a long time.
It's a long time.
And you can do overheads at the open mic thing too?
Yep, we do people with overheads, yeah, the only
I'm gonna let you and Sam, just because we're
You
running
know
out
me,
of
right?
time. You guys can talk that over. I think we're good on that. I'll try to hurry through this. So that's important. Touch that. Touch that. Okay, I think that's enough on that, because I don't want to take up all our time on that trivia. What are some questions for your councilman? Yes, sir.
Status of the water tower.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
So this opens something I had on there to perhaps talk about. When things are land use, right, as soon as a developer, a property owner submits that to the planning department, it now has the potential to get appealed to city council, right? Because the planning department could approve it, you might not like that, you appeal it to the planning commission. They approve it, you don't like that, you then appeal it to city council. If I have gone to a meeting like this and get recorded, giving an opinion about that, I will be asked to recuse myself. I will be told, nope, you can't vote on this because it's like someone on a jury who's already said, yeah, I think that guy's guilty. I think it's pretty obvious. So there's a case like this right now. It's Creek Walk.
Oh, yeah.
Some in the room know about Creek Walk. So it was approved at council on a 7-to-1 vote. I was the one that voted against it. It's a big apartment building on South Nevada. A citizen appealed it, right? So council approved it, the citizen appealed it actually to the court system. And so now we can't discuss that either because the court system could kick it back to city council and say, hey, the citizens' concerns, we agree with those. City council, you need to relook at this with their concerns considered. Does that make sense? So this is tough because a lot of times with constituents, they get frustrated because it's like, hey, why won't Donelson talk? When I ran for city council, 24-24 was the hot button issue during the campaign. My opponents were both saying, I'm going to vote against this. If they had been elected, they would not have been allowed to vote on it, right? Because they had already said what they were going to do. That would have been appealed for sure, right? That's not a fair jury. So That's how that goes.
But Larry can talk, but here's
Well,
the
okay,
issue.
but I'm not gonna discuss the water tanks for that reason. I
So
think
you're not, there's gonna be no further discussions tonight on this issue?
any quasi judicial creek walk, I can't talk about that. I think.
Because here's the issue, this thing is being built,
Okay.
and it's
it-
gonna
it
get
can be
done.
appealed. It can be appealed, but I hope
So
I've
so
made
if I,
it
if
clear.
I
And
just,
I don't
sir,
wanna
no,
just-
no,
I don't
sir,
wanna just
I do want to
dwell
make
on
it,
this.
I don't want to talk about your opinion whether
Okay,
the water
go
tank
ahead.
should be built or not. What I want to talk about is what looks to be an appearance of impropriety in our city government. That is something that you should be able to answer to because you are the chair of the Colorado Springs Utilities Board.
Correct.
You are on city council, which is the final authority for this, and you are our representative. So you sit in all three of these seats.
Okay.
What I'm seeing right now is in the planning process,
Well,
what I was told.
if I could, I would just like to
Okay.
stop you for this reason.
Yeah,
I didn't explain it completely. There's also what they call ex parte communications.
yeah.
Like if I go off with a developer and have a conversation about a development, and the other side, the citizens aren't there to counter the points that that developer is making, that's considered not fair. And that's why I'm not supposed to do that. And even this, talking about this, is considered ex parte communication. I'm having a conversation about something which can be appealed to city council. And I'm sorry those are the rules, but those are the rules.
But I want to talk about the structure
And I can't discuss,
communication.
yeah, I can't discuss that. You can talk with Sam, you can talk with Alex, you can't talk with the 9 of us that potentially have it come to us for a hearing. And I don't write those rules, it's kind of like a sport, I don't make the rules, I have to play by. And
I understand, but Dad tried to bring this issue out. The whole time you're standing in front of us saying, just put your comments in, go talk to Sam, go do this. They continue to build. So the simple thing was a request to just stop until you and others hear this. And they don't. And why has
and that can be part of your, if
It
you were
is.
to appeal it, and I'm not recommending anything, then that can be part of your appeal. But I can't, honestly, I
They're
can't
gonna
discuss
be
it.
leak testing
Man, your
it.
flashlight's on. Your
Did you
phone.
file an injunction?
No problem.
They're gonna be
So-
leak testing this.
And again, it's now 6:40. I'm not gonna talk about it, so I'm sorry,
That's a
I think
shame.
my
It's a
record
real
is pretty
shame.
clear on city council.
It's a real shame.
Can I ask
I'm
a
sorry.
quick question here?
Sure.
All right,
And
go ahead. and I
just try
hope
to
we're on
understand
another
the
topic.
process.
Yeah.
So when this gentleman and other people are at this meeting, can you hear what our input is on it versus like if you were just listening
The
but
reason,
not
the
responding?
reason why, it goes back to that ex parte communications. It's just like, you don't want me going with a developer, and I won't discuss it, I'll just listen to what you have to say, and I'll just sit here for 20 minutes while you tell me all the good reasons I should vote yes. We're not supposed to do that. It's like a jury. We're supposed to not discuss it with anyone. When it comes to us at council, all we're supposed to consider is the facts that are presented to us, not what my friends told me or anything else.
Okay. That's Annette Massey's fault. Email her. It's not Councilman Donelson.
And I believe, or my, well, okay. All right, so I know that's frustrating for normal people. It's legalese. It is what the lawyers will use against any council member who discusses things. And I would do it too if I was the attorney for the other side. I'd say that guy those guys who ran for District 1, this seat, they could have never voted on 24-24.
One more question in
Yes.
regards to that.
Yes.
So if we can't speak to you and provide, where,
I
can
need
we
to correct
send you a
myself.
letter?
Yes, so now that's a little different, believe it or not. If you sent me an email, what I do, and I always do this, and I've done it on all the land use items, I read the email, and then I reply to you and I say, thank you for sending the email, this is now quasi-judicial, I can't discuss it, I will forward it to Sam,
Okay.
and he puts it in the record. So now the other side gets to see what you said, and then they can, they can counter that in the hearing.
Okay.
Does that make
So
sense?
and would you
Emails are
also
okay.
recommend that we copy all the city council at the same time when we're sending in that a particular concern?
There's no reason not to do that, yeah, yeah.
I just
You
wanted,
may as well.
I just wanted, I was thinking that maybe, that
Yeah,
would help.
yeah,
to
and
understand
honestly,
that.
like for land use items, we'll discuss any that are active. I don't know, 24, I think it's not active.
It's not active.
So yeah, if you send an email to all of us, then it hits all of us. Yeah, that's a good way to do it. A handwritten letter, means more, so I'm not talking about any specific things, but handwritten letters, that can catch the eye, a phone call. Sometimes we'll get the same email, right? Like from 50
300 people or 500
But,
people, yeah.
and so, do I read it every time? I know what it says, I look at who sent it, and I probably will answer and say thanks. It has I would say it has an effect because it's numbers.
Right.
So I'm just telling you how to be an involved citizen.
So the water tower couldn't be talked about at the open mic then either, on Tuesday?
You can talk about it, well, let me think for a minute. Yeah, but okay, that, I don't know, it's being recorded. Let me ask the attorney on that, okay? Yeah. I'm not even, that's a good question. I don't think anyone's done that before. So, straight back.
Dave,
Yes, sir.
are you allowed to explain what I think is a really good vote on something you were alone in?
Yeah, if it's no longer active.
Correct.
Yeah, what is it? Which one?
Well, the vote's no longer active. It's the Tabor, on the Tabor refunds.
So here's the deal with the Tabor, is more legal stuff. City employees, including me, like right now, even though I'm not really an employee, I'm a councilman, we can't use city resources to advocate for or against it. And
This is you being an elected official, this being your town hall, you can talk about it.
my attorney, okay, I can't.
You can talk about it. Sam and I can't talk about that.
So Alex is trying to get me arrested, but within reason, what exactly is your question?
No, just, I didn't know if anybody in here knew what your vote was, which I personally thought was the most sensible vote.
Yeah, on the Tabor retention.
Yeah, the only sensible vote.
So I won't lobby. I'm going to be cautious on that one. I am. So
I hear a lot.
I think most of you know. I think you saw me either on the news or somewhere. I'm a little leery about that. Okay, so I don't want to use this as a time to do that, but I may write something for the newspaper or do other things like that on why my views are what they are. Ma'am, you look vaguely familiar.
Yeah, somewhere along the line we've met.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. And I know you don't want to talk about this, but I do think that this is something that everybody's interested in. This police academy, is there a plan? Is it on the website? Can we look at it? Do we know where it is?
So that's different, I think, than actually talking about a retention. Maybe. Then that was part of what I have talked about this, and this is just the truth. Our chief, our other city administration are looking now. They're looking at property, is my
So the
understanding.
answer is no plan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, this format, I'm not going to go down that road either, because that has to do with the retention, the Tabor retention. And I try to stay inside. I try to play by the rules. Okay, I don't want my opponents doing things I don't agree with, so I'm going to stay where I am. I'll write something. I can lobby for things, I can just give my opinion, but this is a point when we're using city resources. There are city employees here with me. There was a debate about this in the election with Wayne Williams, Sally Clark. Just him being out in front of a fire station was a big deal. So inside the fire station and with employees, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, just
Yes.
answer the question.
And sir, you look vaguely familiar too. Mr. Warren?
Councilor Donelson, Chuck Brum. I've been here for 35 years and I've seen homelessness grow. It's devastating to a community. It's heartbreaking to see individuals lying on the street in places. I know as human beings, that's not where we want better for folks. And I know a lot of cities have spent a lot of money. I know the city of Denver for the last decade has spent something like $300 million and the problem hasn't gotten better. Any thoughts on going forward, city, expansion of the sit-lie ordinance, anything like that?
So that's a hot topic there. When I talk about things we get emails on, I should have included that. And, I probably didn't even recognize how important that is when I ran for city council, how I knew, because I run on the trails and stuff like that down at MVP downtown. I think some important things to remember is, one, 75%, maybe 80% of those people, I can call them vagrants, downtown, have either addiction problems or mental problems. And there are some who are just down on their luck, but a smaller percentage. So the housing first model, there's a land use thing that involved that recently. There's a lot of concerns, can that even work when you're putting people into housing and they're not forced to have treatment, you're just putting them into a room, paying a rent for them, and then they're alone with themselves and drugs, potentially. And the highest overdose numbers, like percentages, now in San Francisco, I think it's San Francisco now, come from supportive housing. That's where the most people OD, is in those supportive housing, because they're in there, they're not getting treatment. Jack Briggs at the Rescue Mission has a different method or plan. Over the next few, this is really what I want to focus on in the next few months, is really what can we as a city do to improve that. What we have done in the past is we have the hot teams, right? And I have helped the citizen out with that just like 2 days ago, forwarding her photographs of these campsites to the hot teams, and we got all that stuff cleaned up. 2 of the people there got arrested. Each of them had 5 outstanding warrants. Colorado Springs is trying to not be like Denver, cities that are kind of friendly to that lifestyle. I mean, we want to help people, and we have a place, you know, the Springs Rescue Mission is one. There is never a night when there is not bed space in the Springs Rescue Mission. The city pays we donate money to the Springs Rescue Mission in the hundreds of thousands of dollars so that we can enforce the no sleeping by the creek ordinance. You know, they have to be a certain distance away. The no sit lie. I believe our former mayor, you know, he tried to balance, we don't want to get sued by the ACLU with let's be as, you could say, aggressive or do as much as we can. I talked to somebody the other day and we talked about it, you know, maybe we can do more. That's what I want to do. I want to do more. I want to clean it up even more. Hands are shooting up like weeds. So, okay, sir, you all the way in the back.
I appreciate it. I'm Jim Blair. I'm with the Northern Neighborhood Alliance for a combination of districts of this northern area of neighbors and homeowners associations, et cetera. My question is, Pine Creek is facing a major issue on affordable housing projects going in. They're popping up, as you know, all over, because you listen to the rhetoric at the city council meetings. Can you address the whole affordable housing issue? Because it seems like these are high-density apartments that are going up throughout Colorado Springs. Very often we're finding there's no real grassroots input in the initial planning process. We should appreciate if you can make some comments about that.
So there is a planning process, and actually, I think Travis is out of here now.
He's over there.
We're looking at improving it. I mean, and so I think it's going to change. I mean, I think the little cards you get in the mail, which go to the homes within 1,000 feet, is where it's supposed to go to. I see people shaking their head. No, I'm just telling you the way it's supposed to work. But I got an email from a gentleman today who lived like 2,900 feet from something that's going to be built, but it's very important to him. He hadn't found out about it until what he says his comments, citizen comment ended like the day he found out about it. We're re-looking at that, the big signs they put on the property. Then, like as we talked about, then it would go to the planning commission. Then it could come to city council. That's the big debate, is densification, right? There's two, this is a school of thought. Hey, densification is good. If we put more people, again, I see it's shaking like leaves now. And I have real concerns with that. I think most people like Colorado Springs not to be dense like Denver is. The problem, but it's not a problem, but then we have to accept we're gonna have a lot of roads. So then we've got Corey Farkas back in here talking to us about the roads because we're gonna spread out. My personal view is probably that citizens may be more, they more desire, the ones that are here now, to have something more spread out than just dense, right? The dense, large apartment buildings being dropped into neighborhoods. But there's an argument on each side. I'd be happy to talk with you privately about it. I don't want to.
No, I
can drag on for 5 more minutes. Yes, ma'am. You've been in front of me the whole time.
And I want to talk about that because the whole thing with dropping apartments in there. If you drop 500 apartments in there, it's 1,000 people, and then the developer is allowed to pay for parkland or in lieu of parkland. All of a sudden, you've taken that particular section of people, and we have a quote goal, and I think it's very, very wrong that we have a goal and not a 1,000. I mean, it's only 2.5 acres. The national standard for quality of life is 10 acres per 1,000 people. We dropped that goal from 5.5 to 2.5 with this latest city rewrite. And I just think that is dead wrong for Colorado Springs. It's a passionate thing of mine, but then we have these apartment buildings going in everywhere, and what you're doing is you're lowering the quality of standards for all of those neighborhoods and that are all those people that are already invested there, and you're not giving them the 2.5 acres, and pretty soon it's gone. It's missing. You won't even be able to buy the 2.5 acres.
So what I would tell you is, you're making a great argument. There are going to be people that come to council and make the other argument. I believe 80%. What I'm going to recommend is come down there sometime on citizen comment. Have your
I need to do that because I think it's just wrong.
And council, the mayor, they need to hear that point of view too, because trust me, we hear why increased densification is good. We hear a lot. So, yes, ma'am.
On increased densification, not in the WUI. The biggest lesson from the Waldo Canyon fire was you need to taper off. You need less density, because the more density, the greater the chance of a wildfire becoming an urban fire. We are going to bring the fire in further with more damage. Look at Cedar Heights. They didn't burn because they had already made they mitigated and they made their area less dense by design. The WUI should be less dense by design. There's no reason why Retool couldn't have included WUI code in its design, except that the advisory board was almost 100% developer, not one environmentalist on there.
Very good, and just for the sake of time, I listened. I'll just let someone else ask questions. So that was really a statement, not a question. We can talk privately, I might agree with you.
Yeah.
Yes, Angela.
I've heard quite a few times at city council, because I've listened to it for the last 4 years, I have brain cells that have gone, the word attainable or affordable. I've heard people stand in front of city council, developers and folks that are supporting developers, and say, it's affordable if you can afford it. It's attainable if you can attain it, okay? Incredibly just disrespectful to the people who really need affordable housing and attainable housing. So I would just ask if there's any way you can go back to city council and say, quit using affordable and attainable, because it makes us look bad when we say we don't want Creek Walk in a 7-story building, we don't want Pine Creek, we don't want the launch pad, we don't want all these things, because they're under the guise of affordable or attainable. There needs to be a new way of looking at that. When Steve Posey gets up there and talks about HUD, he does it in a very respectful way of the housing that is needed for folks that, you know, have a certain income. But we get developers up there, they throw those words around. How do we get them to change those words? Because we look like bad guys because we don't want affordable housing in our neighborhood. Well, that's not the case. What we don't want is a 7-story building when all the other buildings are 2-story, and you know, you have this monstrosity just because whatever part of town doesn't have that building. And so it's the verbiage that they're using. It's the same with the police academy. We're not against the police academy. What we're against is the fact that you're trying to use Tabor money to pay for it. And so that makes us look bad for that. Well, that's you know, so it's throwing those together.
Very rational arguments. Write a letter. These are things you can do. You can come and speak to city council. You can write a letter to the editor. You can write a handwritten letter to the mayor.
I like to torture Alex.
And then Alex, and then when we have the hearings, it has an impact when citizens are there and they speak.
I think you're right.
I can talk personally with you also. Yes, ma'am.
This is just kind of a real quick question on the, when I heard you say the man with 2,900 feet, not 1,000 feet. How did the 1,000 feet come up? It's pretty teeny tiny.
Yep, and there's talk about that as we were looking at what we want to do with that process, that approval process. It was approved by city council when we got retool COS to 1,000 feet. It had been 1,000 before that. I voted against retool. Retool. I voted against that because I had concerns about notification and I had concerns about the ability to appeal. Who can appeal, say, a planning commission decision? It used to be anyone in the United States could appeal it. So maybe that was right. They could appeal something here in Colorado Springs. Well, why does that even make sense? Well, you could own property here, but you are in Florida. Or if you didn't own it, your mom could. It could be your mom's property or something like that. I thought we could just pull it down to say the city limits. Anyone in the city limits or anyone in the county. But I got outvoted on that. So to appeal it, I don't remember the exact process, but it's much narrower than it used to be. It's not anymore. So it is your city council. If you wanted it changed, I know you want it changed. Write the other people and say, hey, it should be more than 1,000 feet. We think this is too narrow. We want it extended. The arguments against that, the cost of sending these mailers out. It seems like, this is what the planners would say, it seems like the word gets out, right? We get a lot of public input. We are looking at it right now, so, yes ma'am.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that you were aware, because I've seen some of your other colleagues talk that we are going to be X amount of units short by 2030 and things like that. And I just wanted to make sure that you were aware that right now we have more than 5,000 apartments sitting vacant.
Yep.
And there are 12,000 under construction right now, and 8,100 in the pipeline that have already been applied for. And I think that's going to take the market as simple supply and demand.
And I have, that was pointed out to us, I forget when it was, there was a citizen who said, hey, go to apartments.com and look. And I've done that, and I've shown it to other council members also, and said, look, there's 4,500, whatever it is.
Good.
So I am aware, and there's a lot of stuff being built, and we'll see. Yes, ma'am.
I think my biggest issue is
I've been here for about 40 years and. 40.
40.
So, and I think the crime in our city, I mean, our police officers don't even have a chance to address the minor stuff. We have murders now every night, or at least every week. And I know that, what is happening with our police department that we can get, I've heard so many different, how many officers are on the street. Can someone really tell us how many officers there are at any given shift that are patrolling?
Yes, I mean, someone can tell you that. And there is a schedule for essentially the whole year that was created at the beginning of the year based on how many crimes occur in these different parts of the city in Falcon Divisions, that was called. So they allot patrol officers based on how much crime there is, and it's different during the different times of the day. I've gone out and ridden with them, and it is. You're kind of surprised how few are out there. If we get our numbers of police officers back up, we will have more on patrol. There's a bigger issue here too with just the citizenry, and when the cities get bigger, does crime just seem to get worse? And that concerns me, is what's happening just in America, in our cities. Part of it, I would say, is the state legislature has lowered penalties, right? You no longer get locked in prison now. You get a piece of paper, and it's really bad. That is having a big impact. So the police are chasing the same guys and gals around because they don't get put in prison and locked up because we think it's not really their fault that they're criminals. The system was bad to them, so we shouldn't really punish them for that. That's kind of the, I would say that's kind of the philosophy up in Denver now. So, and I've talked to our attorneys about, hey, can we start locking people up ourselves here in the city if the state won't do it? And I could bring one of them to explain why there's very minimal return on that, and there's a big expense. Because when we do it ourselves, we are now footing the bill at the jail. And I would do that if we could really lock up criminals. So I've looked at different avenues. It's tough. Well, and, my friend in the back can say something, but we're getting late on time. I can have PD with me the next time to talk in the first half if you guys want. We did that 3 months ago. A lot of you may not have been there. So we don't have really any time left. This will be the last one, and then I'll talk to individuals outside.
Okay.
Go ahead, sir.
I have a quick question.
Yep.
And it's what feedback can we as a citizen expect from a hot tip? I guess that's I am John Kirshen. I live over in District 6.
Yeah.
According to that.
You're in District 6?
And I reported to the hot team a family that was living in Arundel Park. And it was 50 feet, it was probably 25 feet from my back fence.
Yeah.
And
what happened? What happened when you did it?
Yeah, what happened? Anything?
Are you saying nothing happened or what?
I don't know. I have no idea. I got no feedback from
Okay.
the hot team.
Were they gone within a couple days?
They were gone within a month, within a week, 2 weeks.
Typically what happens if you contact the hot team or even if you
contacted
me.
I contacted the police department.
Yeah.
Who said they contacted the hot team.
They will go there, and if no one's there, they basically post that campsite telling them you have, I think it's 24 hours to be gone. And if they're not, they take all the stuff, they clean that site up, and so that site won't be there anymore. As I told the story earlier, they arrested 2 of them.
Yeah, I heard that.
Involved in this.
That's what generated this question. What feedback?
Yes.
Anything?
Let me talk with you privately, because
Okay.
there is a way for you to find out what happened. Did they come out there or not? We can get that information.
Okay, good.
Dave, you had an open
Do you want me
question.
to just send you an email? I can send you an email.
Okay, that's fine. That's very useful.
Okay.
Yep.
You had an open question earlier about drag racing down 30th Street.
So on 30th Street.
Right here. And I have,
Yeah. I've talked with PD about that in the past. Sometimes they have to just come and do increased enforcement and try to squash it for a while here, and then they move over to my neighborhood, or at least my neighborhood. That's kind of what we do. There are things that they're looking at in the future to confiscate those racing vehicles, to just take them away, measure the decibels, and ticket for that. I know this is another thing. This is a thing we get emails about. So it's really one where if it's happening, if it's gotten bad, contact me. I talk with the chief. They get some guys out here. We're doing this on a portion of the Constitution right now. You know, I wish I had a better answer as one councilman, what I could do to solve that. It is something that we just have to keep readdressing, it seems. Okay, make me the king, and we'll fix a lot of problems.
Okay.
But until then, you know, I wish I could tell you we come and we're going to arrest them all next week and lock them up. I wish I could tell you that, but that's not going to happen. We can get enforcement out here and try to improve. Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.